Rice, for example, is not a product of nature.
Wait a minute. Did you ever think of giving up?
Yes, fasting is the quickest way to heal your body.
Mundane talk in a room full of sparks. Soft little jokes that hit in the dark. A chip white cup, a worn out grin. You're coming.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to T's Lounge. Wherever you're watching from, you're very welcome today to the lounge presenting Mundane Talk. Today I have with me Mr. Bolaji. I call him the headmaster. We're going to be talking about very interesting things here in the lounge. We believe that most of the life lessons come from ordinary conversations, and we're looking forward to having those type of conversations today. So join me on this journey as we hear more from Mr. Bolaji. Mr. Bolaji, you're welcome to T's Lounge.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So my first question, Mr. Bolaji, to you is, tell us about yourself.
Right, okay. Simply put, I'm going to do a little introduction about myself. My name is Bolaji, as you already know. I am basically an everyday guy who happens to be into wellness and fitness in general, especially herbs, which is something I got into accidentally through my own journey with my health. And this was a few years ago now, but it's something that is now a big part of my life, and I'm essentially sharing it with the people around me, the people that I love, and hopefully I can share with the world as well. And that's me in a nutshell, really.
Great. So you say that you went into herbal health, as a result of your own challenges with your health. And I do understand that not everybody wants to be vulnerable on camera. Not everyone wants to tell their story. But I would say, to the extent to which you can speak to someone out there looking at the camera, what can you say that can save somebody out there that you don't have to be too vulnerable about your personal life? Because I'm very mindful about that. So tell us how you ventured into, herbal health as a result of your own challenges.
Right. Okay. So I got into herbal herbs, wellness in general. I got into herbs about 7 years ago now. So this is what happened. So prior to that, I had actually, 7 years prior to that, I had actually gone through like a very serious sort of life-changing event, if you want to put it that way. So I'm going to try and be brief and not go on about it for too long.
Yes.
But yeah. So in 2013, I believe, I'd gone through like a cold, just a normal cold like anyone else would have. And for some reason, it was really serious. And not long after, I had this issue where I started feeling really dizzy. And, now I know it's something called vertigo. And so the onset of that brought about other things as well, like joint pains and also, most importantly, I think the one that really hit hard, because the other ones I could sort of just manage it, but the pain, it was the eye pain that was really difficult to deal with. So during that period, I had all of these issues, with my health. And fast forward 7 years later, I got told by someone about a particular health instructor on Instagram. So I thought, let me check it out. And so I started to learn about wellness and herbs and things like that. And and for me, it started to make sense. And the things I picked from that was essentially that when it comes to your health, the reason we get sick is essentially because of toxins in our body. And when we start to get rid of the toxins, healing begins to happen. And understanding that, I went through my own little journey of looking for herbs that can help me in that process. So I started to look for herbs, detoxing herbs and herbs that are anti-inflammatory, because essentially all of the things we deal with really is inflammation. So I sought out to try and reduce inflammation as much as possible in my body. So on that journey, I came to the understanding that the herbs that are very high in iron, as we all know, iron is what our blood is made of, and essentially without the blood, we can't live. There's no life, and the blood essentially helps us with oxygen throughout the body as well. So I understood that was an important part of healing, and I also understood that fasting was another important part of healing. So
let me just cut in there. We talked about this when we met. We talked about fasting.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a lady with us when I met you, and we were talking about, what does fasting do for the body?
Yeah.
And someone was saying, oh, I don't know how to fast. And then you were saying, Doc, please tell them, And I said to you that fasting is very essential because it cleanses the body. It gives your body the break that it needs.
Yeah.
It's like a car. You're driving it 7 days a week.
Yeah.
From morning to night. You're not giving it any breaks. At some point, it's going to break down, right? So tell us more about that.
Right. So fasting, in fact, I think it's, first of all, fasting is something that's as old as the world itself, because if you dig deep, if you do research, you'd find out that, thousands of years back, like all of these people from then used to fast. In fact, when we look at the humans before us, they fasted quite a lot, actually. They didn't always eat as much as we do now. So fasting itself is not new to the world. It's something that's always been there. However, it got lost in transition at some point. Well, we're coming back to it now. So essentially, fasting is basically giving your body a chance to stop digestion. Digestion is a process that takes a lot of energy. Like, I think as humans, we don't quite understand how much energy digestion takes. And when you give your body time to not digest food, what your body does is your body essentially goes in and it starts doing a cleanup job. And the cleanup job is essentially trying to get rid of toxins in your body. Toxins includes dead cells and also tumors, parasites, all of these things. Fasting essentially starts to help you get rid of all of these things. And by so doing, the body starts to regenerate itself as well. In fact, what I found on my journey personally is that fasting is the quickest way to heal your body, really. So if you're looking to heal, fasting is essentially the quickest way to heal, because when you give your body that chance to actually attend to some of the things that are making the body sick, then the healing is very quick. But whilst fasting is also important, because it's not just about fasting. It's important to understand how to fast, and also the fact that whilst fasting, you need to incorporate herbs into it as well, because the body, whilst fasting, needs regeneration. The minerals that comes from herbs helps us with regeneration, and also helps the detoxing process as well whilst fasting.
Wonderful. Thank you for explaining that to us. I'm sure our viewers are catching a new wave of this health business. So tell us, what's the most difficult season? I mean, you talked about your health and the things that happened to you. At that point, what was the most challenging thing that you had to deal with when you were going through that? Because obviously it was a journey for you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't just from A to Z like that. What was the most difficult point of that journey for you?
Right. So it was a journey, and even right now I'm still healing. It's been a long journey. I think the difficult part for me was actually not even the journey, because I think the difficult part for me was when I found out what was possible in terms of healing myself, because before then I was in a very dark place where I had been going through all of these things for years, and one of the things, like I said earlier on, I was going through was like serious high pain. So at that point during my journey, when I had the issues, I'd gone to Moorfields Eye Hospital in London. That's the biggest eye hospital in London, I believe.
Old Street.
Yeah, Old Street.
I love it. Yes.
So, and I remember getting the diagnosis and saying I had something called blepharitis. Essentially, again, it's just inflammation in the eyes. So, and I think that sort of led onto the eye pain, and it was constant, and I went through that for 7 years, and that was really difficult because I don't even know whether other people that have dry eyes get that sort of problem. But for me, for instance, like now in my 9 to 5, I work in an office, and I think before then, I couldn't use a computer for more than 2 hours. My eyes were hurt so badly. So again, it shows where I was and obviously where I am now, because that inflammation, I was able to get rid of that with
yes.
the fasting and essentially the herbs.
That's very interesting. So tell me, did you ever think of giving up when that happened?
Yes.
Some people were brave and I said, no, I didn't. I had so much faith. I didn't want to give up. But it's good to be truthful.
I'm quite a honest person, so you're going to get a lot of honesty from me. I think I would be lying if I said, there were. I mean, when I was going through it, there were times when it was really dark and I wanted to give up. I thought about a lot of bad things, and it's quite hard. And but the light at the end of the tunnel came when I found out what was possible. And as soon as I started incorporating the herbs and things like that helped me to believe. That really helped me to believe, and I could see that it was possible to heal. So I did think of giving up for sure, definitely.
So I know that you've talked about, how, your challenges with your health and how you were introduced to herbs, and when you saw the possibilities of what these herbs could do in terms of healing your body, that was like a defining moment for you to say, come on, I can do this, But one other question I want to ask, you do have a job. You said to me you work in an office. You're it's social sector, or where? What do you work?
I work with civil service. I work with
civil service. Work with the civil service. So do you at any point, look at your colleagues and say, guys, you can do more. Please stop popping the pills and detox. Do you find yourself doing that?
Yeah.
Or do you kind of like keep it to yourself and say, no, I don't want to share this with anybody?
I think maybe most humans are guilty of this. I say when you know something that you think is good for people or humanity, you tend to want to share it, and I think that's how I got into actually having this my little herb business, because I wanted to share with people, that these herbs can really help you, because everywhere around me I could see people going through a lot with their health, so I could see people that were dealing with issues like high blood pressure and diabetes and things like cysts and fibroids and period pains and PMS symptoms and mood swings and all of these things.
Gynae issues.
Yeah, all of these things. But people tend to think they're normal, or they tend to just accept it as part of life. And for me, I just thought, I knew that there were things that could help them, in a way. And also, a lot of us take prescription medication, and I knew that prescriptions weren't exactly the way to go, because I'll tell you something. This was coming from a doctor, actually, a natural health doctor that I listened to. all prescription medication, all of it does damage to the gut health in some way, shape, or form. And what happens when there's damage to the gut health is because it becomes leaky. When it becomes leaky, it means things can leak through. And essentially, this is leaky gut is essentially one of the reasons why people have autoimmune diseases.
Wow, that's interesting.
And so obviously armed with that sort of knowledge, I try to steer people in my circle to say, listen, there are other ways, there are things that can help without actually harming yourself. And, so that's why.
So basically maintain the body before it gets to the point where you have to start popping the pills and all of those stuff. Exactly. So it's best to detox and stay safe, right? Yeah. Okay. So one of the questions, I know you've talked about, your health, what happened to you, how you got into this and all of that. And of course, hearing you speak about it, you can see how resilient you became. One of the questions I would like to ask, and I'm sure our viewers want to know, what does resilience mean to you? Given all that you've been through, what would you say resilience means to you?
Yeah. Right. I'm going to try as much as possible to be precise and try and make sense of what resilience means to me. I think resilience is, quite frankly, is the ability to weather the storm and, believe strongly that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Because I think for me, the way I see it is, it's two things. If you're not going to be resilient, then it's either you give up. And for me, I always think, well, what would I choose? If there's a chance that I can change it, then I'd rather try and change it than just give up. So for me, resilience is just sticking through it, no matter the pain, and just, giving it everything until your last breath, really.
Until your last breath.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So how do you deal, the question would be, how do you deal with things how do you kind of hold yourself up when things get difficult? And I know we are just kind of skimming through the sides. We don't want to go deep into the things you went through, but, you went through a lot.
Yeah.
And thank God you're here today. Yeah. You're talking about it because you're alive.
Yeah.
How, when things got bad, and like you said earlier on, you were in a dark place.
Yeah.
How would you say that, what motivated you? How do you keep yourself motivated? Because there's one thing to say, I know that these herbs work, and I know that this works, and I know I can help myself. So I just keep trying until I get better. But there are days when you don't even feel like getting out of bed. There are days where you don't even feel like doing anything else.
Yeah.
How did you motivate yourself in those instances? How did you motivate yourself out of those kind of tight corners?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think for me, it was two things. I think naturally when I look at myself and I look at my childhood now, I've always been very a very determined and driven person, and if I feel like I can do more, I just can't help but keep going. So I think for me, it was the fact that, in fact, that period where I sort of stumbled across the herbs and everything, I just had my first child, an only child. So I think one of the things that really pushed me was that I was really sick and I had a child, and I was like, I need to
be here for that child.
I need to be strong. I need to be financially there for the child. And I just thought, I can't do this if I'm just very sick. So it was one of the things that really pushed me, because I thought, I had to, there's people that relied on me. So I had to be strong for them. So I think for me, I've always found purpose with the people I love. That's what keeps me going in terms of pushing myself to do what I need to do. I think that not letting the people I love down kind of pushes.
So I guess, would you say that your why, you know how they say, what is your why?
Yeah.
What is your why? A lot of people do things because it seems convenient, right?
Yeah.
But for me, I always say, what is my why? Why do I do what I do?
Yeah.
So for you, what you're saying now, your why was your child. You know, I have to leave because this child needs a father. Correct?
Yeah.
Yes. That's very interesting to know. That's really interesting. So I would like to also ask, how did you deal with disappointment? Because hearing what you're saying now, I would like to think that at some point you felt maybe this thing is not working.
Of course.
This thing is not working. I'm doing all that I can. And you're a Christian, and I believe you were praying too. Let me take a long jump. Like, okay, let me pray. You know, this thing is not working. What do I do? At that point, when you get to that point where, you know, you're getting all these setbacks, how did you deal with those setbacks?
I think especially with healing, it's that's why I personally I say to people, like, it's like prevention is better than cure. Because I always say to people, trust me, you really don't want to be in that place where you're trying to cure. You really want to prevent it, because healing can take time. You know, it can take a long time. And it can also be really frustrating, you know. So I think for me, it was just a thing where there were times where I felt like I was getting better, and then like it's like I found myself 10 steps back. So I had in fact, okay, like for example, when I found the herbs and I'd done the fasting, I'd done a 7-day fast at first, and after the 7-day fast, I was still having a bit of eye pain. So I was like, okay, I think we need to do more. So I've done a 21-day fast, another one. And in that period, there were times where, of course, I would feel okay. Because remember, apart from the eye pain, there were other things as well. So there were times where I would feel like, you know, the joint pain was subsiding and then it would come back again. So it was difficult dealing with things like that, because, you know, on one hand, you think you're getting better, and on the other hand, you know, you feel like, okay, this thing is not, I'm really budging. So it's hard to, but, and I think that's where you need the belief. I think I always say to people, even when I give people herbs, for instance, I always say to them, please, you need to understand why you're taking it. You need to believe, you need to, because when you believe something, you're able to stick with it. So it was just a belief that kept me going. You know, you need to have belief. So belief will make you stick at something. Yeah.
That's very interesting you say that, because I was going to ask you, what were the habits that contributed to the success of the healing? And you talked about fasting. Because firstly, fasting is detox, basically.
Yeah.
It's abstinence from food,
Yeah.
from drinks, or from certain things that, you know, if you keep doing those things, you may not get close enough to the goal.
Yeah.
You know. So what would you say what would you say were the habits that you had to put in place to ensure the success of this healing?
Right. So I'd say the number one habit is essentially discipline. You really need to have a lot of discipline, self-discipline, like to be able to go through fasting, for instance, is very hard. So
it's not easy. It's not easy, especially when you got all the food in the house and you're looking at the food's looking at you, but you can't eat any of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
fasting is not easy.
It's the discipline to understand that, you know, like this is what I'm trying to do and I have to get through it. So I think that's the number one thing really, is discipline. And I'd also say believe, because when you believe, even when you get setbacks during your journey, you're still going to be able to power through.
Yeah.
And resilience as well. So the ability,
it's very key.
Yeah, definitely.
Resilience is very key. Yes.
The ability to get knocked down and then be able to get back up again, because in any journey really, you would have setbacks, and you need to be able to get back up. And it's quite hard to get back up after a setback. So I think those 3 pillars are what basically,
Thank you. I'm sure our viewers are learning something really, really interesting here, because
I hope so.
This is one area that people don't want to really talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all over social media. Health now, with the help or with the emergence of social media, a lot of people know how to take care of themselves better. But having said that, when you talk about the area of fasting, that's another issue, because some people don't want to fast. The idea of fasting, the idea of staying away from, a good meal.
Yeah.
If you get my meaning.
Yeah.
The idea of not eating or not drinking. Not a lot of people like that.
Of course,
So yes, I mean, this it's very interesting that we're having this conversation, because now people can look and say, you know what, maybe I've been doing something wrong. Let me try.
Yeah.
You can always try. I mean, I was saying the other day, I went on a journey myself.
Yeah.
Not because I was really, really ill, but I felt ill, even though I was not ill.
Yeah.
I would wake up in the morning with body pains. I don't know where the pains are coming from. I would go to bed tired, wake up tired, and for the first 2-3 hours of the day, I still feel like there's a weight on me, and I shared this once, I was at a program in church, and I shared it, and I said, I just heard his voice say, purge yourself. Purge yourself. And what I thought to myself, okay, I'll fast for like 3 days. You know how we do? We just 3 days we walk. 3 days we just cleanse the body with water. So from 3 days it went to 7 days, and I was still fasting for 7 days. And for some reason that voice kept coming back, continue. And I tell you, I went on for 100 days.
Wow.
And by the time I finished fasting for 100 days, my eyes were clearer. I could see better. I could move faster. I had mental clarity.
Yeah.
At that point, I knew that apart from anything spiritual, right? Even physically, my body was not my body. There was something wrong. So that fasting for me was, it was a new lease on life for me. I had to start all over again with my body, my gut health, everything had to I had to reset my body. I had to reset my mind, So I hear you when you're saying yes. So one of the things I'm going to ask as well from that, because I had to unlearn a lot of habits.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you that question. What did you have to unlearn during that journey? Because for me, I had to unlearn a lot of things. Yeah. Not eating at certain times, not eating certain things, staying away from too much sugar. What did you have to unlearn on your journey?
Yeah. Right. So I'd say in this journey, I think the most difficult part of it, taking herbs is easy. The difficult part is the diet. And even, I'm going to be quite honest, I still struggle even with my diet, to date, but I think one thing I still kept with me was the fasting, because I knew that moving forward, that was going to be something that was going to be very helpful for myself. And so one of the things I had to say, okay, no to was essentially reducing sugar as much as possible. So when we say sugar, I think people would think we're talking about just white sugar on the table. That's not, that's sugar.
Everything in our foods, isn't it?
Yeah. So sugar comes in all forms. It's in a lot of forms. So for example, if you eat, this is probably a bit controversial, but if you eat rice.
Oh my days.
And
you just touch our pinpoints.
And but that's sugar, because when rice goes into our system, it breaks down to become glucose.
Okay.
Now, glucose in itself is not a bad thing, because our body uses glucose as fuel. Our brain uses glucose as fuel. But the thing is, the type of glucose the body should use is natural glucose. So that brings us to eating naturally, like natural foods. So rice, for example, is not a product of nature. But there is something called wild rice, which is a product of nature. So if you had that, that's a carb. but it's a product
Wait
of nature.
a minute, let me just stop you right there, please. This one is really controversial. Are you telling us that the rice that we eat is not natural food, is not organic? Is that what you're saying? When you say not a product of nature, can you please explain that? Expand on that for us.
Right. So when we say product of nature, we're talking about things that were made by God, or for those that don't believe in God, the universe. So when God makes something that's edible for humans, it's usually alkaline. Okay, alkaline means electric. We're electric humans. You know, we're electric. So, but when humans make products like the hybridized products, for example, humans have hybridized some fruits and foods like rice, cassava, some of the things that we all eat. These are not product of nature. You wouldn't find them naturally occurring. So humans have had to make them, you know, hybridization, you know. So that's what I mean by, but when you talk about rice, wild rice, that's a product of nature. That was made by God. So when you eat that,
that breaks into sugar.
Yeah, it doesn't cause a spike in sugar, i.e., at the end of the day, that becomes diabetes, you know. So this is what I mean when I say a product of nature. That's a whole another topic in itself.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So tell me, because I've had this conversation before where people say, oh, don't eat too much rice because, you know, it's not too healthy for you. Yeah. And then you hear the school of thought that say, you can eat a little portion of rice, but make sure you have a lot of vegetables on the side to break down the sugar and all of that. We're still learning. We're students in the school of health. But, you know, things like, when you say things like tubers, like cassava, for example. I've heard people say, don't eat cassava as well. It's not too healthy. But cassava, our ancestors have been eating cassava for, centuries. Yeah. And most of them, you know, lived into the hundreds, you know. Is that also something that people should stay away from? And I'm not saying people should stay away from what they like to eat, but, you know, it's good for us to know, you know, what is safe.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good topic. That's a very, very good. Whilst I don't want to delve too much into diet, because I don't necessarily want to tell people what to eat.
Yes.
But again, it's important because some people might not know to understand certain things. So, for example, cassava, again, this is something that I've actually spoken to people and they've presented the same argument to me, like, oh, but our ancestors ate cassava. But yeah, the people before us might have eaten cassava, but that doesn't mean cassava is a product of nature. In fact, if you do research, you'd understand that cassava is a product that was brought into Africa, but Nigeria, if we're talking about Nigeria now, to be precise, by colonial masters. So,
from where?
From Portugal.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you saying that we never had cassava in Africa at any? Wow.
Nah. So, in fact,
we need to do a research on this one, because you have to tell the viewers, because when you say cassava, because from when I was a child, my earliest memory of cassava is from my states, from back home in Africa, where my parents come from. Yeah. And I've seen, you know, the older generation, you know, uprooting cassava from the soil. Yeah. I always tell some people, I look at the Gen Z today and I feel sorry for them because they don't really know much about, you know, nature. Yeah, of course. I grew up in nature and I saw people harvest cassava from the ground, from the soil, right? I saw how cassava was processed, you know, and there were no additives. Yeah. You know, the only thing I saw being put on cassava was red oil to give it its color. Yeah. You know, there was nothing else. So if you say cassava is not a product of nature, that's a controversial statement. You have to tell us how so.
Well, tell us how so. I mean, without being too controversial, it's the research is there for anyone that cares to do the research. The thing is, for example, when you look at cassava and you'd understand that it's a very starchy substance, isn't it? In fact, when I was a young person, I remember people saying, "Don't take too much gari," which is a product of cassava, because you might get blindness in your eyes and things like that. And obviously now it makes a lot more sense to me why they would say that, because of course it's a starchy product, and starch, it's not in itself starch is not in itself
so we need to know the foods that we should eat, basically, and the foods we should not eat. I'm going to move along quite quickly because of our time and take you to what I call the tea of faith. Yeah. What role did faith play in your journey?
I'd say faith played a very huge role in my journey because, again, in order for you to do anything, and in fact, whenever you make progress on anything that you do, it takes a lot of faith to do that. So for me, in my journey, for me to do some of the things I did, for me to embark on a 7-day fast and a 21-day fast, it was the faith I had in the process, because the process had been explained to me, and I basically had faith that it was going to work. So having faith and believing in God that, this will work was very, very important factor, in the process.
It was a key factor, because without it, you wouldn't have had that drive to continue fasting. Because what's the point of fasting? You're fasting because you want healing.
Yeah.
Fair enough, you're going to do the herbs, which you're going to introduce the herbs to us anyway, so that our viewers can see what you're talking about.
Yeah, of course.
But before then, I'm going to quickly just ask you another question, which is something I call tea for thought. What advice would you give to your younger self? Haven't talked about everything you've talked about now. What advice would you give to your younger self now?
The advice I would give to my younger self, I would say, I wish I had known more about health in general. I wish I had known more about herbs and how powerful they are. And I would say that. And
you would do things differently.
Definitely. Definitely.
And what legacy would you leave behind?
Well, what do you mean? Like,
what legacy would you leave behind? What would you want people to know about you, your journey?
I think,
I would like to think. I don't want to guess, but I'm thinking your background is not herbs. Your background is you studied something else.
Yeah,
but you kind of fell into this because of life circumstances.
Yeah.
So what kind of legacy would you like to leave behind, given all that you've talked about here today?
I think the legacy I'd like to leave behind would be one of someone that went through challenges and found something that was useful for themselves, and also understanding that it can help other people as well, and just a person that basically tried to help humanity in his own little way.
Wow, that's really interesting. Well done, thank you. So my next segment will be what I call the community table.
Yeah.
But instead of asking you questions, I'm going to ask you to talk about these herbs, these very products that you brought in today. It would be nice for our viewers to. This one is called. Is it maca root powder?
Maca root, yeah, that's
maca root powder, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And at the back of it, it's very simple packaging. It's like you don't want us to stress out reading back labels. So this is called maca root powder. It says energy, hormonal balance, and libido.
Yeah.
My goodness, God help us. So we're going to skip that bit. And it talks about the benefits at the back. Can you tell us more about this product, this maca root powder?
Yeah. Right. So maca root. So these are maca root is quite a popular. It's actually a vegetable.
Okay.
It's a root vegetable. It's actually so this is food essentially. It's origin from Peru, this particular one. But maca root, of course, can go in many parts of the world as well. But this particular root, it's really good for both men and women. It's very high in iron. And one thing I'd like everyone to know as well, because one thing people don't understand is, as humans, we're made of minerals. That's what we feed on. And minerals come from the earth. The earth meaning rocks. So when you talk iron, the same irons that are used to build these buildings, it's the same iron that we eat.
Yeah. Wow.
But we eat them through plants. So this is very high in iron. And as we had actually talked about earlier on, iron is what the blood is made of. So, and iron is a magnetic mineral. So when a plant is high in iron, it brings all other minerals to it as well. So you're talking copper, calcium, magnesium. So this maca root has a lot of iron, a lot of calcium, a lot of magnesium, and iodine as well.
It's power packed, isn't it?
Yes,
it's power packed. That's very interesting. So we don't have much time. So I'm going to take whatever time is left to ask you to look into the camera.
Yeah.
Let me just introduce this first of all.
Yeah.
So that was maca. Is it maca root?
Maca root, yeah.
Maca root powder. And then we have, how do you pronounce it? Cascara
sagrada.
I don't want to get tongue tied, so I have to stop halfway.
Sagrada.
Cascara sagrada.
Yeah.
Is it Spanish?
You know what? It's possibly Spanish. I should know where that came from. But it's
Cascara sagrada. Sounds like Portuguese.
Yeah. It's called sacred bark. That's sort of the English name. But Cascara sagrada.
And it's a detox tea. Yeah.
Yes, correct. Okay. Yeah.
And then we have all you need. Energy, libido, and
calm.
Antidepressant. Sounds very aphrodisiac. PMS symptoms and energy. Again, yeah. So this is all you need. Eat. And I think the name of your is it your social media is Eat to Live?
Italy, yeah.
Eat to Live. Or is it Eat to Live?
No, Eat to Live. Eat to Live. Literally, Eat to Live, yeah.
Right? And then the other one is Blue Vervain.
Blue Vervain, yeah.
These names are very interesting. Please help me look at the camera and tell our viewers, about this wonderful, wonderful product and how they can get it. Yeah. Please, it's very important because I got mine when I met you. I bought mine. I wasn't mocking about it. I bought mine. Although I don't have all of it, but I will still get some. So tell our viewers how they can get this product and where to find you on social media. To be very helpful. Thank you.
Right, no worries. Right, so quite briefly, we're going to. So this is the Blue Vervain. The Blue Vervain again is very high in iron. Magnesium is something that is quite doing the rounds in the wellness industry right now because, quite frankly, magnesium is a very important mineral. It's a mineral that works really well on the body in terms of relaxing the body and the nerves in general. So this herb is packed full of magnesium, plant magnesium, which is what we should be taking really. So the Blue Vervain. And this is very good for hormonal balancing for women as well. In fact, they call this a female herb and the cure for all in some parts of the Caribbean.
Oh, wow.
It's incredible.
So it's from the Caribbean, that one?
This one's from the Caribbean. It grows in parts of Africa as well. So tropical places. Yeah. And this is the all you need. This is called the all you need because, again, these has 3 ingredients in there: ashwagandha, sarsaparilla, and demiana. Sarsaparilla is very high in iron. You would notice there is a lot of focus on iron because iron, again, like I said, is a very important mineral. Our blood is made of iron, so iron is very important and it's anti-inflammatory. So, and it has a lot of magnesium as well and calcium in it. This is why this is called all you need, because when you take this, you essentially get all of the minerals your body needs. So this is why we call this all you need. And the Cascara Sagrada is sacred bark. This is essentially primarily a colon for your colon health, detox for the colon. It's important to do detoxes on the colon because, again, most things we go through, most diseases starts from the guts. So in order for things not to fester in the guts, it's important to do like regular cleansing of the colon before they begin to get to other parts of the body. So this is why detoxing is important. So
There's one more here, the maca root powder. You've talked about that already. So where do people find you?
Right. So right now you can, if someone wanted to find me, you can find me on Instagram. I think that's the easiest way. At Eat to Leave. That's my Instagram handle. You can find me on there. You can say hi. I don't bite. and also on the back label of the herbs, I've got a mobile contact on there, so as well as the Instagram handle. So yeah, people can find me on there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bolaji.
Yeah, no.
So we've come to the end of this episode. As you know, the tea may finish, but the conversation continues. Thank you so much for joining us on this very, very interesting episode where we talked about health. I hope that this episode has challenged you, inspired you, encouraged you to take your health more seriously. And we look forward to you joining us again on another episode of Tea's Lounge presenting Mundane Talk. Thank you.